Hello everyone and welcome. I'm excited to be here with you today. We're going to explore Mega Goal 2.3, focusing on Unit 9, Laugh Out Loud Grammar. In this presentation, we'll cover some fun and useful grammar concepts, all centered around making your English more lively and expressive. So, get ready for an engaging session where we'll learn, practice, and have some laughs along the way. Let's get started. Let's take a closer look at how we can identify a participial adjective in a sentence. For example, when we say the boiling water, the word boiling is a participial adjective describing the water. Next, we'll explore how to use the structure, the comparative, to show a relationship between two things. For instance, the harder I work, the better I get. This pattern helps us express comparisons and cause and effect relationships clearly. We'll also focus on using get plus adjective and get plus past participle correctly. For example, he gets tired easily, or they got confused by the instructions. These forms are useful for describing changes in state or condition. Finally, the main lesson objectives are to understand how to use both the past and present participle forms as adjectives. Mastering these will enrich your descriptive language and help you communicate more precisely. Remember, these concepts are central to making your writing and speaking more dynamic and expressive. Today, let's look at how the words bored and boring function as participial adjectives. These words are often used to describe feelings or characteristics, but they do so in slightly different ways. Bored describes a person who feels uninterested or weary, while boring describes something that causes that feeling. In this picture, you can see that these friends are not having a great lunch together. The woman on the right thinks her friend is a boring person, which shows she perceives her as uninteresting. Meanwhile, the woman on the left is actually feeling bored herself. This example highlights how these words help us describe both how people feel and how they are perceived. Remember, understanding these participial adjectives allows us to communicate emotions and impressions more precisely, connecting to our overall theme of descriptive language and effective communication. So in this slide, we're looking at how we use the words boring and interested and how they relate to feelings. When we say the lesson is boring, we're talking about a situation that makes us feel a certain way. The word boring describes the lesson itself, the thing that causes us to feel uninterested or unengaged. Now, there's an important pattern here with these words ending in ing. We use ing to describe something or a situation that causes an emotion or a feeling. For example, the movie is exciting or the test is confusing. These words tell us about the situation that makes us feel a certain way. On the other hand, we have words ending in ed like bored, interested, or excited. These describe how people feel after experiencing something. For example, he is bored means he feels unengaged, and she is excited means she feels happy and eager. The key difference between ing and ed words is that ing describes the cause, the situation or thing that makes us feel a certain way, and ed describes the effect, the way we feel because of it. Understanding this helps us describe both the situations and our feelings more clearly and accurately. So remember, ing is used for describing the situation that causes a feeling, and ed is used for describing the feeling itself. This distinction is important as we continue to learn how to express ourselves more naturally in English. Let's look at some more examples to deepen our understanding. These additional cases help illustrate how the concepts we've discussed can be applied in different scenarios. By examining these, we can see the versatility and real-world relevance of our ideas. It's important to recognize patterns and differences across these examples, as they reinforce the key points of this presentation. Ultimately, these examples serve to connect theory with practice, making the overall message clearer and more practical. Let's take a moment to explore some common emotional states we might experience. For instance, when we feel down or overwhelmed, we might describe ourselves as depressed or feeling depressing. These words relate to a sense of sadness or heaviness. Moving on, there's the feeling of being frightened or scared, which is a natural reaction to threats or danger. Sometimes, we might feel irritated or find certain things irritating, which can lead to frustration. Embarrassment is another common emotion, those awkward moments that make us feel self-conscious or uncomfortable. And then there's disappointment, which happens when things don't go as we hoped, leaving us disappointed. Recognizing these emotions helps us understand our reactions better and how they fit into the bigger picture of emotional awareness and communication. Now let's look at the word hungry. It's an adjective that describes the subject, which in this case is Ahmad. When we say Ahmad is hungry, we're giving a clear picture of his state at that moment. It also illustrates an interesting idea, someone becoming hungry. This is where the verb get comes into play. Get can be followed by an adjective to express a change or a transition. For example, when Ahmed gets hungry after a test, it shows that he's moving from a state of not being hungry to being hungry. So remember, get plus an adjective helps us describe a change in how someone feels or is. It's a simple yet powerful way to show that someone is beginning to experience a new state, like becoming hungry, tired, or happy. This concept connects to our overall theme of understanding how words work together to convey different ideas and states in English. Now let's look at the word exited. It's actually the past participle form of the verb to excite. When we use exited in a sentence, it describes the subject, in this case, Ahmad. It gives us the idea that Ahmad is in a state of excitement or that he's become excited about something. This highlights an important concept. The past participle can tell us more about the subject, especially when it conveys a change or a new state. For example, in the sentence, Ahmad is getting exited about the game. The word exited shows that Ahmad has experienced a change. He's moving into a state of excitement. It's also useful to remember that other verbs like get are often followed by a past participle. When we say get excited, the past participle, excited, acts like an adjective, describing the subject. It helps us understand not just what is happening, but also the change or transformation the subject is undergoing. So, in summary, the past participle exited helps us describe the subject and conveys a sense of change or becoming. This is a key idea when we're talking about states, feelings, or transformations in English. Let's take a closer look at how we use more with nouns or verbs to make comparisons. When we say more plus noun or more plus s plus v, we're emphasizing an increase or a greater degree of something. Now notice how we also use short adjectives in these structures like older or wiser to compare qualities. For example, the older we grow, the wiser we become. This shows that as time passes, our wisdom tends to increase. Similarly, we can compare different situations. For instance, the higher you climb, the colder it gets. Climbing higher leads to colder temperatures, which makes sense because of the altitude. We also see this pattern in everyday advice, like the earlier you leave, the better it is. Leaving early usually results in a better outcome. Another common example is about studying. The more you study, the more you learn. The more effort you put into studying, the more knowledge you gain. And it's not just about studying. This pattern applies to money and work as well. The more money he makes, the more things he buys, and the more we work, the more we earn. It's all about how increasing one thing leads to an increase in another. Finally, remember that these are called double comparatives because they have two parts. Each part starts with the, and the second part shows the result of the first. So, as one thing increases, the other does too. Understanding this structure helps us see how things are linked, and how growth in one area often leads to growth in another. When we look at this slide, what we're really emphasizing is the idea that the meaning is the same across different expressions. For example, when we say, one thing depends on another, we're highlighting a fundamental concept of dependence or relationship. It's about understanding how things are interconnected. Then we see this statement. Yes, the more I study, the more I learn. This is a way of expressing that increasing effort in studying directly correlates with gaining more knowledge. Similarly, yes, if I study more, I learn more rephrases that idea, showing that the relationship is consistent regardless of how we phrase it. Now, an interesting point here is that you could answer the question, if you study more, do you learn more? In two different ways. You might say yes, because the more effort you put in, generally, the more you understand. Or you might consider other factors, but the key takeaway is the clear cause and effect relationship between studying and learning. This connects to the overall theme of understanding relationships between ideas and how expressing the same idea in different ways can help deepen our comprehension. It's about recognizing that different phrasing can still convey the same core meaning, which is a crucial skill in both learning and communication. The more I study, the more I learn. Now, let's look at this phrase from a different angle. If I study more, I learn more. By rearranging the words, we emphasize the cause and effect relationship between studying and learning. It highlights how increasing our effort in studying directly impacts our knowledge growth. This idea connects to the overall theme of continuous learning and self-improvement. It shows that the key to gaining more knowledge is simply to invest more time and effort into studying. So whether we say, the more I study, the more I learn, or if I study more, I learn more, the core message remains the same. Effort leads to progress. Now let's look at some common phrases that use get and getting in different contexts. For example, gets frightened shows how someone can become scared, which is an emotional response. On the other hand, get rich is about achieving wealth, often through effort or opportunity. Then we have get dirty, which can mean physically becoming dirty or involved in something messy. Moving to more excited states, getting excited describes the process of becoming enthusiastic or eager about something. In personal milestones, got engaged refers to the moment someone agrees to marry, a significant life event. Get dizzy describes a physical feeling of lightheadedness, often caused by movement or health issues. As the day progresses, getting dark illustrates how the environment changes as evening approaches. Sometimes we become confused, which is captured by got confused, indicating a past state of uncertainty. The phrase gets crowded highlights how places or events can become busier as more people arrive. Lastly, getting worried shows the process of beginning to feel anxious or concerned about something. All these phrases demonstrate how get and getting are versatile in expressing different states, emotions, and changes, which connects to our overall theme of understanding language patterns and how they reflect real-life situations. So what this slide is showing us is how the use of the more and the less helps us express relationships between different actions and outcomes. For example, when I say, the more it rains, the higher the water level gets in the river, I'm illustrating that an increase in rain directly causes the water level to rise. It's a way to show cause and effect clearly. Similarly, I might say, the better my English gets, the easier it is to understand English TV shows. Here, improving my language skills makes understanding TV shows simpler, demonstrating that progress in one area can improve another. Another point is, the more TV I watch, the less I like it. This highlights a common experience. Spending too much time on something can sometimes lead to less enjoyment, which is interesting because it shows that more isn't always better. Then we have, the earlier the class, the more tired I am. This suggests that the earlier start time affects how tired I feel, emphasizing how timing can influence our energy levels. And finally, the farther we run, the longer it will take us to get back. This is a straightforward way to explain that increasing distance naturally results in a longer return time, connecting distance and duration. Overall, these examples reinforce the idea that the more we explore or do something, the more it impacts another aspect, whether it's a positive or negative effect, highlighting how interconnected actions and outcomes are. So, as we look at these points, what they're really illustrating is how certain factors can influence outcomes or feelings in our daily lives. For example, the richer you are, the more stuff you can buy. That's pretty straightforward, but it highlights how wealth can expand our options. Then, as I get older, I find I care less about what others think. That shift in mindset can really free us to be more authentic. Next, the more sleep I get, the better I feel. This emphasizes how important rest is for our well-being. Moving on, the warmer the weather gets, the nicer it is for swimming. This shows how natural conditions can enhance our experiences. And finally, the quicker we work, the more we'll finish today. That's about efficiency and how speed can help us accomplish more. All these points connect back to the overall theme of understanding how different variables, whether external or internal, can impact our satisfaction, productivity, and overall quality of life. Recognizing these relationships can help us make smarter choices and perhaps even better manage our expectations. All right, for your homework, please turn to page 310 in your workbook. There, you'll find exercise C. I encourage you to give it a thorough try, as it's a great way to reinforce what we've learned today. Remember, practicing these exercises helps solidify your understanding and makes the concepts stick. Take your time with it, and don't hesitate to review any parts you're unsure about. Completing this homework will also prepare you better for upcoming lessons. So, give it your best shot, and I look forward to seeing your progress next time.